Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the A Queens Roundtable Show on another Sunday afternoon. I am so super excited. I am your host, Jacqueline Kabah Harrison, and I am super excited. I have an awesome guest here with me today. We're going to be talking about couples in business. So please share the broadcast out, show us some love, leave us any questions or comments that you have, and we definitely want to hear from you. Okay, we are going to answer your questions. And if you are not able to join us live and you are catching the replay, of course, let us know you are a replay viewer and still leave whatever questions or comments you have for us because we want to hear from you. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my special guest today. With us today, we have Frank Henderson and Yolanda Jerry, a couple in business. Hey. So I'm changing it up a little bit. You all know that usually the focus is specifically, I usually interview one entrepreneur at a time. So I'm doing something a little different today, but I think you're really going to appreciate it and get a lot out of it. So go ahead and grab your pad and your pen and just your cup of coffee, tea, whatever, no judgment here, and just sit back and chill and enjoy the show with us today. So without further ado, guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about, your business, your businesses, who you serve and how you serve them.
Thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here with you. Can you hear us fine? It's an honor to be here. Yes, it is. And we're excited about it. I am Frank Henderson. I am the lead pastor of Epic Fellowship Church out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I'm also a financial consultant and representative. I have frankhendersonfinancial.com, FHF, and that's what I do every single day, helping people, middle market America, especially the household of faith, to have those things in complete order so that they can do the things they need to do. I also have my lady Yolanda Jerry here with me today, and she's a serial next level on steroids entrepreneur herself. So she's doing her thing. I'll let her talk to you.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I am Dr. Yolanda Jerry. I am the better half of Frank Henderson right here. I am also the CEO and founder of YJ Empowerment Solutions. I'm a certified life coach, domestic violence and sexual assault victims advocate. I also advocate for youth who have been bullied and now also human trafficking victims. I with my business, I coach individuals along their healing journey to make sure that they use whatever they have in them and pull it on out to fulfill their life's purpose. But mainly just to help them, heal along their journey so that they can be all that God has called them to be. I am also the Chief Information Officer for Success Women's Conference, Power Up and Level Up Summit. I am the Chief Ambassador for those two conferences. And there's so much that I do behind the scenes. If I was to go down a laundry list, I'm just going to say, go ahead and just type in my name on the internet, Yolanda Jerry. You'll see all the stuff that I've been able to do. Otherwise, we'll be here all day with me talking about what I do. But it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, Jacqueline, on the Queen's Roundtable Show and podcast.
Well, let me say again, I am so excited to have you all here. And it's always been an interest of mine. I'm married, but I don't, my husband knows, I mean, he would probably be in the background shaking his head, but it's the truth. He doesn't really know much about what I do. Um, all he'd be able to say is, "Oh, it's something about women's empowerment." She's on the computer. So he doesn't really know anything about what I do. Um, Also, a lot of times I think that when I've talked with women that are, in married or in an intimate relationship, it's often a challenge or it comes up a lot about how to balance it, how to balance, people always talk about work-life balance. So how to balance being, I guess, a couple in business, maybe tell us a little bit about that. I'm pretty sure you guys has some different tips and tools that you can share with us about how you make it work. How you make it work in terms of balancing, and in terms of spending your quality time together, as well as taking care of the business, and basically how you support one another. So go ahead and just kind of jump out there and just talk about what's on your heart, what you feel would be most beneficial for people to be able to excel. So go on ahead, go for it.
So which one you want to do? You want to do the business or you want to do the personal side?
It doesn't matter. We're gonna let's give them both.
Okay.
Let's
No,
go
I
with it.
mean, I'm saying you can do one, I can do one, or we can do both of them together. Which you want
Let's
to
do
do?
them together. Let's
Okay.
talk. Let's talk to the people.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would say from the business aspect side, most of the people that I know that I operate by calendar. That's something that keeps me on task. But I use that calendar for not just professional reasons, but I also use it for my own personal reasons as well, making sure that I get my family time in, because it's important, making sure, and people say, well, I don't ever have time for family. You have to make time for family. And one of the ways for me to best do that is to make sure that I block that time out. So if I decide that I wanted to fly to North Carolina, which is where I am right now, I'm going to block those dates out and say, hey, this is my time. I want to be in North Carolina for, 5 or 10 days. Of course, I'll still be working here, but I'm only going to work whenever he's working. When he's not working, I'm not working. So you have to be intentional about the things that you want to do with your family as well. So that's why I say, for me, business and personal, I utilize a calendar so that I can make sure that I'm devoting the right amount of time to my work, but also my family as well. Same thing with my daughter. If there's something that she has coming up, I ask her to let me know so that way I can block it off. And if I have to push something that's even business wise and reschedule that, I will do that, because at the end of the day, your family is important. You got to make sure that they know that they are important.
Yeah. And I think that works really good because calendars kind of lay out where you need to be when you need to be there. You're getting your notifications, nothing sneaks up on you, there are no surprises, and you know what's going on. But I also would think one of the things that we do to kind of have the work life balance is communication, which you have to talk, and you have to talk about where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. So you always have to have that conversation. From communication, I think in terms of communion or a common union. It's hard to communicate about something that you're not in sync about. So if it's even down to how we raise children, you got to be in sync about it. How you do business, you got to be in sync about it. Nothing works unless it is in sync or intercourses properly. So you always have to understand that, especially as a couple, especially as entrepreneurs, when you have people doing different things at times as individuals versus the things they're doing as a couple. So you always have to come back in and say, how do we get all of these things done and maintain our relationship as well? And I think I wasn't great at it, but I think Yolanda has come in and shown me. And it was real simple. Mostly it was about being on the same page. And number two, input on that calendar. That'll make it happen for couples.
So one of the things or major things that I'm hearing is and actually knowing, basically everybody being on the same page. So that's something that I'm hearing from you guys, right?
Absolutely.
And also I would say, Miss Jacqueline, is that you have to have confidence in your partner's business acumen. You have to have confidence in that your partner knows what's up, knows who to be in league with or covenant with, and who not to be in league or covenant with, because every relationship we have is intimate. I mean, if you sit across the table and you're breathing the same air and you're writing with the same pens and paper and you're FaceTiming and your video messaging, it's an intimate relationship. Either it's It's intimate in the sense of it's a good union or joining, or it could be one of the most disjointed things ever. It could be a miserable situation, but either way, there is a level of intimacy with that. And so you have to have full confidence in your partner's ability to choose the balls and the strikes, what to let in, what not to let in, what to keep out about business. Because all money ain't good money. Because if money's gonna come in and tear your stuff up, it's not good money. But if couples are trying to be there for each other and do business, you just got to respect one another and have that super confidence in their ability to do the job, and to do the job in a way that honors God, honors themselves, honors their business, and honors the relationship.
Wow, this is very powerful. And thank you all for joining and shooting those comments up there. Y'all, look, y'all a little fast on these comments. I'm trying to keep up with them. Thank you for joining us, Lee. And I know this is Chronicles. I know this is Miss Fuchina. Thank you so much for joining us. And yes, this is a powerhouse, godly couple. I want to leave that up there for a second, because I know a lot of. So you know what? Okay, so let me ask this: were you guys already entrepreneurs, in your own right before you joined together, or was this something that you guys, you became a couple first, and then you sat down and kind of talked about it? Like, how did it all start up? What is your why behind your businesses?
So for both of us, we were already entrepreneurs in our own business. I have my business, and I've been in business since 2018. But Frank has been in business for what, 15 years,
Yeah,
15 or more
more.
years in the financial industry, as a financial advisor. So we both, even though we serve in different capacities, there's a lot that we are learning together and with each other, because there's a lot he's been able to learn from me, but there's a lot I've been able to learn from him as far as business is concerned, because truth be told, none of us know everything about business. And there's always something that you can learn from another person to make even your own business better. So just as he mentioned, just not long ago, where he talked about he wasn't always good at the calendar. But now, I mean, he uses it because he knows it saves him time and it keeps him on time with a lot of things. And like for me, I'm not the guru when it comes to even putting content together. I have to hire somebody, but now I have somebody that can help me put content together, even when it comes to my advocacy work, when I can't even come up with some of the different things. I mean, I know I have a lot of words I want to put out, but I have someone here with me that can make sure that I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's before I actually put anything out into the atmosphere. So I think both of us coming into business knowing that we already have business established will make it even better for when we actually do the next thing, which is what we're planning for in 2022 when it comes to our couples ministry.
Right.
So I'm excited about that. We have a lot that's coming to the forefront in 2022, where we're bringing both of our expertise and knowledge to the table.
Yeah. And I think also, if you think about it, if I hadn't have been an entrepreneur and she hadn't have been an entrepreneur, it would have been hard for us to understand the pace we keep, that we have to keep, because nobody's writing us checks, man. We have to go out and create checks all the time. So being entrepreneurs, it really means to gain by trading. So we have to go out every day and trade in some way, shape, or form to create resources to take care of our family. So I understand that about her. And simply put, the reason, the why I do what I do as a pastor, because I'm called to do it. It's in my heart. It's something I live and breathe. It's what I think about ever since I was young. And as a financial person, I do that simply for one reason. That is to make sure that I eat and that my family ate. And so I do that. I call that the same way Paul made tents in the Bible. I do financial, I do insurance, IRAs, I do all of that. That is something that is just how I take care of my family. And I understand her a little bit. Check this out. She does everything she does about domestic violence, sexual assault, teen bullying, all these things she's been a part of, Success Women's Conference. Everything that Haven's house, everything that she does because of where she came from, what she's been through, and she never wants anyone, male or female, to ever experience what she experienced. So she always tries to put information in the earth that will help them elevate and amplify their lives so they can not go through those things if they heed the wisdom.
Absolutely. I know. I know. Yolanda. I've heard you. Speak previously, and I know. A lot of your platform involves. You know, um, Domestic violence. Survivors and giving inspiration. To those that are coming out of those situations. So yeah, I am very, very familiar with that. I wanted to ask you, and I always ask this of all of my guests, and I think you kind of alluded to some of it. But what would you say have been some of your biggest obstacles? Um, you know, whether it be in your personal life or your professional life.
No, I gotta go first.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
I would have to say one of my big obstacles that I had to overcome is when you go in a relationship, you always have to think about the other person. I had been single for so long, divorced since 2005, and not really having to think about the next person. So now it's like every decision I make or everything that I do, I have to also make those decisions to keep my significant other in mind. And not just that, also ask him, what does he think about certain things? Because I want to make sure that what I'm doing is not going to be something that's going to hurt him in the process. Does that make sense?
And as for me, the biggest thing, because I've been through things, right? Abandonment with my father, also like divorces, and then tons and tons of rejection. But I think the biggest thing that I've had to always, when I drill down to it, you have to learn, no matter what you're doing, whether you're in business, relationship, whether you're parenting, whatever it is you're doing, you have to be able to handle when you feel hopeless. You have to know that God is going to give you a better day if you just stay where you're supposed to stay, doing what you're supposed to do. He's going to give you beauty for ashes.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to give you all the joy, to bring about a peace to your life and praise to your life and honor to your life. And for some people, just saying it simple, to bring a smile back to your life. And so I had to learn that the way I felt growing up as a little boy to the times I was a grown man going through divorce, you got to know that you're going to live to see a better day. You just have to hang in there because hopelessness is what takes people out of the way of their purpose. And then it says, a person that has their hope deferred, it makes your heart sick. So what you want to do is when we see the manifestation of disease and unhealthiness and people just sitting and dwindling away, it's because there's an element of hopelessness there. And what we try to do, and what I believe me is, I know how to handle that, and I try to help people handle when they get the bad news or the bad report or something's going down that they didn't intend to happen. They have to be able to saddle up in hopelessness and ride into hope again because Christ, who is our hope, can anchor our soul.
Amen.
Yeah.
High five.
Oh, I love it. So you know what? Talk to us a little bit about the role that faith plays in all of this. just in your lives in general, your life, your business, and everything?
I would say, um, let's talk about faith from the LDR standpoint.
Okay.
Um, when it comes to faith, I will say this, and I was just saying, let's talk about faith from an LDR standpoint. So, what does LDR mean? LDR means long distance relationship, but it can also pertain to those who are in a relationship close together under the same roof as well. Faith is a big thing. I know, especially for us, with me living in Mississippi, residing there, and then with him residing here in North Carolina, it takes a lot of faith, to trust your partner, to understand that there's going to be some good times, there'll be some not so good times, there's going to be some tests,
Right.
and it don't necessarily have to be tests between us, it could be tests from outside entities. There's going to be challenges, there's going to be times where our schedules don't match, and we have to be okay with that, but understanding that we are still supporting one another. So for me, faith is huge, and I say that because as long as I know where my faith is, I can sleep well at night. I should never, if my faith is not strong, I'll have anxiety. I might go into depression. I might feel like I'm not being loved. I might feel like I'm not being supported, and all these different things. But as long as for us, our foundation is love,
Yeah.
and we also know God is love. And as long as we focus on that, we know
Mhm.
we'll be okay. And even if we do have those rough patches, we know how to reel ourselves back in, instead of letting it get to the point to where we don't want to talk to each other.
Right.
Because I always say you should never go to bed mad at your partner. You should never go to bed mad.
And I think about it like from a faith standpoint, as to me, if I were to boil faith down, a biblical definition, I'm going to say faith is total reliance upon Christ for your salvation. And not just the salvation of your soul, but the salvation of your life in a holistic way. And we have to understand that God is never going to let us down. No matter what goes down, God is never going to let us down. And even if we get down, the same way he raised Christ, he's going to raise us.
That's
And
right.
so that's how we apply faith to everything, whether we get good news or bad news. People want to work with us, like what we're doing, don't like what we're doing. We know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we're walking in God's rhythm, and we're going to get to the destination that he has for us. So we just keep our hope and our faith locked right there. We don't look around. We don't worry about what everybody else is saying, what everybody else is doing, what that couple just did, what they just dropped in business. We just have that community, that common union, a conversation about what we're supposed to be doing. And then we trust God to let us walk in his rhythm and get there.
Hmm. I'm just, I mean, this, you guys are and everyone, thank you all so much for joining and showing us and showing Frank and Yolanda some love. And it just really goes to show you that you guys are an example, for a lot of us, and an inspiration, for a lot of us, in terms of making it work, making it work and making it work well, not just, pretending, or you know what I mean? That you guys are really truly making it work in life, in business, in marriage, and everything. Now, I heard this earlier and I didn't realize it. So you guys are living in two separate states?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I live where God lives. She lives in Mississippi.
I live where God lives too. He lives everywhere. We get into it about this all the time. But yes, we
Okay.
do live in two different parts of the United States. The main reason for that right now is because we both have mothers who are in their elder years. Um, Many people know that I lost my dad in 2017. So my mother lives alone by herself. and I'm like an hour and 45 minutes from her, and I'm her sole caretaker. So anytime she needs anything, or if I need to see about her, I'm in close proximity to her. Same thing with Frank, his mother. She's 84, 84 now, and she's literally 45 minutes to an hour away from him. And along with his siblings, of course, he just felt that he needed to be close to his mother too, because she's in her elder years and she also lives alone. So if there's something that she needs, he can get to her as well. But we both committed to this relationship, and we both uh, made this bond, and have this understanding to know that, will it always be this way? No, I'm sure it's not. But we also know that our parents are important. So again, even as being entrepreneurs and people in business, the great thing about being an entrepreneur is you can get up and go and travel and make your own schedule, and take your own time off when you want to. So I've been here since what, December 5th,
Yes.
and I'm not leaving until, mid this week, but I've been here for 10 days. But that's what allowed me to be able to, move and shake as I please, because I work for myself. And again, working for yourself, it has its perks to it, and this is one of them. If you're someone who's in a long distance relationship, you can take the time off when you want to, and you make the time for the person that you love.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. So you know what? I want to ask this. Yolanda, okay, your company is called Yolanda Empowers.
Right, YJ Empowerment Solutions. So Yolanda Jerry Empowerment Solutions.
Okay. Now, if I may ask, how long have you been in business?
Since 2018, and my business was actually birthed from, or pushed me into my birth of my business, really from my dad. I really wasn't thinking about going into business. Authorship, yes, but actually full blown business, that wasn't in the forefront of my mind. But once my dad spoke life into me the last few days that he was living, he said some very, very strong words to me, even on his deathbed, and it stuck with me. And he said, Yolanda, don't. He basically said, I'll always be here. Don't stop what you have a passion for. I will always be here. By him saying that, it led me to believe that, what, I have to keep soaring, I have to keep going, and truly go out and do what God has called me to do. And so that's in business, that's in ministry, that's in advocacy work, whatever it is, I need to keep going. So everything that I do now is because of my dad. Of course, what I have gone through, but my dad is the one that pushed me to where I am in business right now.
Okay. Wow. I totally understand that. I totally understand that. My mom passed in 2006, and she she was a huge inspiration for me. Not necessarily in my business per se, because I didn't start my business until 2016. But my mom, like when you talk about support, my mom was like my biggest cheerleader. My biggest cheerleader. So that's extremely important. When you have the support of a parent,
Mhm.
or someone that's important to you in your life.
Right.
So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I wanted to ask you. So you started in Yolanda, you have such a rich history. And forgive me, Frank, but I'm a little bit more familiar with Yolanda and some of the things that your beautiful wife does. Um, so I know you were also in was it the Navy or the Army? Aren't you also retired from a branch of the armed forces as well?
Yes. So, and I
Okay.
retired from the Air Force. I served 20 years and 5 days. I'm gonna give them 5 days. They're lucky they got them five. But 20 years and 5 days in the Air Force, active duty. Um, had the opportunity to see many places throughout my 20-year career, meet some wonderful people. As a matter of fact, my best friend Lee Wright is actually tuning in right now. Him and I have been friends since the 25 plus years, it's been a blessing to have served in the military, but I've seen a lot. So even though my business itself started in 2018, I've been doing advocacy work since 2005 when the Air Force first implemented the sexual assault victim advocate program, the sexual assault preventions and response team. So I've been doing advocacy work for a very long time.
Okay. Okay. Because the next thing I was going to ask, and I think a lot of us, as entrepreneurs, some of us are, holding down these businesses and still working a 40-hour week. So I guess what I'd like to ask you now is, did you transition from a full-time position into solely working as an entrepreneur?
So how my journey went was I served 20 years in the military, and then I ended up getting hired on to a job with the University of Tennessee as a research specialist. I worked with the University of Tennessee for a couple of years, and then, of course, we ended up moving over to University of Virginia. But what I did was, even though I was working with the University of Virginia, and that during that time, in the last couple of years I was with them, my business was birthed during that time. But I had to make sure before I stepped out and took that leap of faith that I was financially sound with, the things that I had, expenses wise, bills wise, all those different things to see if, okay, if, say for instance, my business doesn't generate this much money, can I still survive and live off of what I have? You know what I mean? Whether it was retirement or anything like that. So it took a couple of years before I took that leap. And as of March of this year is when I went full-time entrepreneur in my own business. So I had literally worked from 2000, the end of year 2014 up to 2021, March 2021, before I went full entrepreneurship. So I had to make sure that I was financially sound, before I took that leap of faith and say, okay, I can do this full time. So if I didn't generate the amount of money that I need to generate, I would still be good.
Okay. So basically you put together a plan for yourself, and you had to do it, in steps, like you said, to make sure that everything was in place. So
Right,
that,
absolutely. Because
yeah.
what you don't want to do in business is you want to make sure that you have at least up to, I would say, shoot for 6 months, but you want to at least make sure you have up to 3 months of money in your account, provided something did happen or something went wrong, to where you can still live, and nowadays you'll see, and this is where Frank comes into play, as a financial advisor. He sets people up, he coaches and he teaches people how to prepare for such things as like the pandemic, you know what I mean? Where people lose jobs and things go wrong, but you know what? There's still money in the bank to where I know I can pay my mortgage, I can pay my car note, I can buy my food, and I'll still be okay. Yeah, I will have to cut down on all extracurricular activities, but I can still pay my bills and still live.
Wow. That's a whole big issue right there. I'm pretty sure that we could probably even do a whole topic in itself on that, trying to actually that's an idea. Okay. Is that whole preparation? I know a lot. I mean, because I know a lot of us out there living paycheck to paycheck, and it's just like even thinking about having like being able to survive 3 months, with not having any, bringing in that regular paycheck, So, but I'm glad to hear you say that, because I know sometimes, and me included, we get so, we want to do our entrepreneur or our jobs, not our jobs. We want to do our business full time because that's walking in our purpose. That's what we feel fulfilled doing, but it's not quite that time for us to completely step out there and really tell them what we really feel at that job. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
so
You want to make sure that that's why I always tell people, don't go swim in the ocean if you ain't ready to swim in the ocean. Because you'll jump out there and find out you're going to drown, because entrepreneurship is not easy. You have to constantly work to figure out, how the money is going to be generated, come up with new ideas. And then not just that, you got to also think about passive income. How can I make money while I'm sleeping? Instead of having to work in my business, you want to work on your business, not always be working in it. So those are so many things that you have to prepare yourself for. So if you work in a 9-to-5 job, work that 9-to-5 to fund your business till you get to the point to where you can walk away.
The number one
absolutely.
thing, Miss Jackie, that I think that there are a lot of people that work 9 to 5, right? And I came across this early in like maybe 1997, 98. I was able to write like a foreword for my accountant at the time. There was Fulbright and Fulbright, and they talked about making the leap from employee to entrepreneur. They got a book out. And so we were talking about it. I learned at that time, and then through helping people financially, that the number one hurdle for people going from the 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship is learning how to manage fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because you think you gonna die. You think you're gonna die. Now you might have some tough days and you might not be able to eat everything you used to eat. But if you work, because entrepreneurship is the greater burden. It's not about security, it's about opportunity. And so because it is about opportunity, you have to create those opportunities. So you have to treat it like I'm not working for Mr. Slate no more. I'm not Fred Flintstone. I'm trying to be Mr. Slate. So now that I'm trying to be Mr. Slate, I got to put a little more time in. I got to do more. I got to create more. I got to connect with people. I got to build my web of wealth. So yeah, the number one thing though, fear. People just scared. And if you can get over that fear of not getting a check every Friday or every other Friday, you can make something out of yourself as an entrepreneur.
you know, you know what? I'm sitting here and I'm just like, yes, because as much as you may not like that job, you know that every 2 weeks or every week you're gonna get X amount of dollars in the bank. You know, so yeah, just yeah, I think that would be excellent, and I think we really on to something there with that. But that's a whole nother subject. How to prepare to basically say goodbye. I mean, really do one of these and walk out and
Mm-hmm.
be and have that faith that this is gonna happen. You know what I mean? Because like you said, you could be kind of what's the word? Um, that's counterproductive. You know what I mean? If you have in the back of your mind, oh, I'm a fail, I'm a fail. This is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. So I wanted to say that, and I also too wanted to say that, and I should have mentioned this a while back. But one of the things you all mentioned was both of you having that entrepreneurial spirit, understand what that means in terms of creating opportunity, and
Mhm.
always it's a whole different mindset being an entrepreneur versus being an employee, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I guess from my experiences, as well as some of the other women that I've interviewed and that have worked with in the past, is that sometimes it's challenging for a person that has and people in the audience. I'm not saying any is better either. One is better than the other. Whatever you choose, whatever is best for you. But I definitely think it's a different mindset between an employee and an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes people that are employees and that are in that employee mindset, I'm gonna work my 30 years, my 40 years, you know, and get out is a different mindset from somebody else that's constantly creating and constantly, having to pivot and having to change and think about residual income and different opportunities. I think it's a totally different mindset. So do you have any advice for any individuals that may be in that type of situation and trying to make it work?
This is what I like to say about that entire thing. In every sphere of our culture, we have CEOs, upper level management, right? We have some regional managers, and if they have a local presence in a city, we have some branch managers, right? All of those, other than the CEO, fit into the employee frame. So it's like entrepreneurs should be the primary people that understand what it is an employee goes through, because the difference between the employee and the entrepreneur is that the entrepreneur is trying to get to where the money reside quicker.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? The entrepreneur doesn't want to ride out 40 years. Doesn't want to ride out 30 years. The entrepreneur doesn't want to pay for a mortgage 30 years. The entrepreneur is like, I got things to do. I'm not trying to give my life away to work till I'm 65 and then maybe die by the time I'm 72. And I didn't even get to spend all the money I saved in my 401k. The entrepreneur is like saying, I believe I can go out there and create the same type of wealth and 10x it to get where I'm trying to do. I'll pay my house off in 5 years. I'll pay my child's tuition myself. They're trying to get to where the money resides quicker. And I think we have to understand the balance between the two. It's like, it's not that the employee is Social Security minded that they're no good, because most people that are entrepreneurs, guess who funds their business? Employees. So you gotta love them. You gotta love them. You gotta be like, hey, because this person gets a check every week, 2 weeks, semi-monthly, they continue to subscribe to my things that I have subscription services for. So that's why Netflix is Netflix, because you see what I mean? So it's like, but the entrepreneur is just saying, like, I believe I can get there quicker. I got a plan to get there quicker. That's what an entrepreneur is. They're just a person like, I ain't got time to mess around. I got things I'm trying to do. I ain't trying to be here all the time. I don't want to look at Mr. Slate all day. I'm trying to make it so that I catch him in Cancun or Mexico or somewhere. We'll have a good time, tip a martini to one another. But bottom line is, both of them are necessary in this world. The entrepreneur and the employee.
Okay, I'm letting that marinate for a minute.
Well,
Let that marinate. Let that marinate.
Look, I'll be marinating on this for a little while, even later on the night, And Rochelle, I see your comment, and I want to put it up there. I just don't know if it's too. It may take up the whole screen. I don't know if you guys can see the comment, but Rochelle says, "Wait a minute, let me take this one off right quick." Okay, so Rochelle's comment is, I also recently retired from the Air Force, and it is about creating opportunities. So many are not prepared when they leave the Air Force. So they give up on their dream of being an entrepreneur because they are scared and are in risk adverse.
Yeah. She meant risk averse. That's what she meant.
Adversity. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what you were talking about earlier about that fear, the fear piece, Yeah. I don't know.
I will say this. Just speaking from the military standpoint, when I retired, now there's more programs, and I think that's only because you probably have a lot of retirees who are going back to the military to be able to teach certain things about entrepreneurship and how to better themselves. Because in this world we have a lot of homeless veterans, and it's not because of the pandemic, right? We've had homeless veterans for years and years, decades, and it's because they were not properly prepared to leave the military. And a lot of people in the military, they count and they bank on that first check, that 15 of the month check. And then when they retire, they don't realize that their income is cut in half. when they retire, and now you only get that check once a month. So what happens when you're yes, you keep your benefits, but you're not still making that same salary. You're not still making that same 60, 70, $80,000, depending on what rank you are, no more that, as you did in the active military. So how you're going to supplement was lost. And I think again, the military has come a long way, but there's still a lot more to go when it comes to preparing people for what we call the civilian life, the afterlife. Um, and I think entrepreneurship is one of those ways to go. Okay, I've served the military for 20 some years. Now, how can I uh, now serve myself and God, of course, and build my own business or build my own empire, and now be able to have my own employees or people working for me. I think that's huge when it comes to the military trying to prepare their people to leave, because there's a lot of corporate jobs out there. But I'm gonna tell you right now, that's why I left. I can't, I'm gonna just be honest. It's like I had to work for somebody for 20 years, and have somebody tell me what to do for 20 years and tell me when I can go to eat and, how many hours I had to work, blood, sweat, and tears. I wasn't about to do that for another 20, 30 years. No.
I understand. And I love what Rochelle just said. She started preparing a couple of years from retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about. It's like Jesus even talks about, I think it's Luke 14. He was saying, don't start something and then you're not able to finish it. He said the primary words are counting. He counted up the cost. You got to count up the cost of what it is you're trying to do, and you got to have a plan. Because if you don't, then you're where Ms. Vaughn said, more female veterans with children are gravely impacted now. A lot of people are impacted by everything that's going on in this world because of a lack of preparation. And so I think you can do anything. I think you can even eat an elephant if you set a time limit on, I want to have this elephant eaten in the next 60 days. So I know he weighs 3 tons. So what I need to do is eat a little bit every day, this amount. And at the end of that 2 months, I'll have eaten that elephant. So you can do anything if you prep and prepare, and you can get there.
And time and patience is key. Time and patience. And stop looking at somebody else's house and their car and what they drive and their table. Stop looking at what they have, because you don't know how long it took for them to get there. It didn't just happen overnight. You know what I mean? It didn't just happen yesterday. So it took some people years. Just like I told you earlier, it took me 5 years before I took that leap of faith to jump out on my own. So, run your own race at your own pace and stop looking at somebody else's stuff.
Preach.
Look, ain't that the truth? And and I think with social media, a lot of us, everybody is putting these snapshots on there, oh, I just walked away from my job, and I'm doing my own business. I just bought this house, and now I'm on the beach, and my hair is blowing in the wind, and I got my pina colada, whatever you drink, and people see that, and they're like, dang, well, I want to do that. And so I think eating with social media, I think I think that statement in itself about do your own thing, and how did you say it? You said run your own race. We have to keep constantly reminding ourselves of that. That everybody's situation is different, and when you see someone doing this, that doesn't necessarily, you don't know how many years they've been planning and preparing for that
Right.
moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
You just jumped in on that moment and see it right then as they're posting. But you
Right.
don't know. They could have been working on that, like you said, maybe the last 5 years, maybe the last 10 years. You never know. But I wanted to, let me see. I want to keep a check on the time. So we got about 5 minutes. And again, I want to thank everyone that joined us, took the time out to join us and comment. And for those of you that are going to catch the replay, thank you again. And let us know that you are a replay viewer, and leave whatever questions or comments you have. And definitely make sure you share it out. And thank you for those that shared it out already. So with the remainder of the time, I'd like for you guys to tell us about some upcoming projects that you're working on, because I know you have many. So tell us what you're working on and where people can find you.
You can go first. You can go first.
I'm working on a lot, but one of the things I'm working on is Epic Fellowship Church. It's my hometown. I'm going back to Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I grew up there as a little boy, and I left there when I was 20 years old. Went to Bible school. Then when I came from Bible school, I ended up back in Raleigh, North Carolina, in Raleigh. And so I was always afraid of Raleigh, but I've been here ever since. And so now God put it in my heart. I've been a church planner, and this will be the last plant of a church that I'll be a part of in the sense of being a lead pastor. So I'm gonna plant in my hometown. I'm a little bit shaky about it, but at the same time, I've got so much hope for game. That's the big thing. So you can find out more about that and support that at epicfc.org. It stands for Epic Fellowship Church, but it's epicfc.org. And I love your support. But that is the main thing that I'm working on now, other than being ancillary and supportive to this beautiful, beautiful young lady here in any way that she needs me. And but other than that, that's what I want to be known as Frank Henderson, the lead pastor. Even though I do the financial stuff and I help people with a lot of other things, consulting and all of that, my main thing is I'm a preacher. And so that's the thing, epicfc.org.
All right.
Come on, man.
Well, for me, let's see. Um, well, for many people that don't know, and then there's also people who do know. Before I go into that, I want to, if it's okay, Jacqueline, I want to say hello and thanks to the Dr. Jerry's tribe. A lot of
That's
the people
him.
came to tune in to the show today. Paula and Vaughn and Mavis, and thank you, Rochelle. All I
Lee.
can't see all the names, but thank you all so much for tuning in and to the Queen's Roundtable show and podcast with Pastor Henderson and I, and also the host Jacqueline. But to let you know what I have going on, we have, and I'm going to say we because it's not me. I'm the visionary author for this book project, but we will be dropping a book titled My Walk Past Hell, Volume 2, The Men. It will be dropping in January of 2022. This book was inspired basically from the first one, My Walk Past Hell, volume number 1, where it was 30 women who came together to collaborate and share their heart, their real truth, and about the things they had to overcome that pushed them into their purpose. And when I say real truth, I mean not the sugar-coated story, the real story. And those women were #1 bestsellers on Amazon. So congrats to them. The goal is to be bestseller again with volume 2 for the men. So make sure you all can support the men, because even though it's a total of 9 authors altogether. We have the 4 author, which is Pastor Frank Henderson, and then we have 8 other strong, confident, courageous men who were vulnerable enough to me to share their story and are ready to share their story with the world. And I believe that this particular volume is going to be huge because you don't have men who really share their truth for fear of the same reasons that women do. But I think it's time for the men to come out and be to the forefront and say, hey, we go through the same stuff that women go through, and it's okay for us to share our truth so we can ensure that we're helping other people overcome what we have overcome, or even prevent them from having to go through what we have gone through. So be on the lookout for that book, My Walk Past Hell, Volume 2, The Men, drop in January 2022. You can go to the website, www.hiswalkpasthell.com, to be on the lookout for more information. Subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll get to find more information on the updated website here soon. Lee Wright is one of the authors that's tuning in right now, who has shared their story in the book as well. So that's pretty much the biggest thing that I'm working on right now. And then in June, I will be doing my very first own actual event as well. So be on the lookout for that too.
Yes.
All right. Yay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm Jacqueline Kabah Harrison, and make sure you join us every second and fourth Sunday of the month for A Queens Round Show. Take care, everybody.